All right, girls, it's story time.
Yay!
All right, we're going to read another story that has the little mischievous little bunny in it.
Yay!
We're going to be reading Benjamin Bunny. This was Peter's cousin.
Yay!
One morning, Benjamin Bunny sat in the sun by the side of the road. He pricked his ears to the trit-trot of the pony cart, and Mr. McGregor was driving the pony cart. And beside Mr. McGregor sat Mrs. McGregor, wearing her best bonnet. As soon as they had passed, Benjamin Bunny got an idea. With a hop and a skip and a jump, he set off to visit his cousins, who lived in the woods behind Mr. McGregor's garden. Benjamin's aunt, old Mrs. Rabbit, made her living by knitting mittens and scarves. She also sold herbs, rosemary tea, and lavender. But Benjamin had not come to visit his aunt. He was looking for his cousin Peter. He went back around the fir tree and nearly stumbled over Peter. Peter was sitting by himself, and he didn't look too happy. He was only dressed in a red cotton handkerchief. Wonder what happened to him. Which he had held tight around him. "Peter," whispered Benjamin, "where are your clothes?" We know where they are. Peter told Benjamin how he had gotten chased through Mr. McGregor's garden and had lost his shoes and his coat. Mr. McGregor was using them as a scarecrow in the vegetable garden. Little Benjamin sat down beside his cousin. He told Peter that Mr. and Mrs. McGregor would probably be gone the whole day because Mrs. McGregor was wearing her best bonnet. He told Peter they could go to Mr. McGregor's garden and rescue Peter's clothes. Peter did think a walk would do him good. And Peter and Benjamin climbed to the top of Mr. McGregor's garden wall. They looked down and saw Peter's coat and shoes hanging like a scarecrow. Benjamin said, "We'll get dirty if we squeeze under the gate. We should climb down the pear tree to get to the garden." Peter fell into the garden head first, but he landed in a lettuce bed that was quite soft. They took Peter's clothes off the scarecrow pole. It had rained during the night, and his shoes were filled with water. His little blue coat had shrunk, and the shiny brass buttons were all missing. Benjamin tried on the cap, but it too was too big for him. Benjamin began to fill the handkerchief with onions as a present for Peter's mother. He felt perfectly at home here, for he often came to Mr. McGregor's garden with his father. Peter was not enjoying himself, though. He kept hearing noises. He wanted to go home. The little bunnies knew they would not be able to climb up the pear tree with the bundle of onions. Instead, they walked through the vegetables to the other end of the garden. Soon they were among the flower pots, baskets, and tools. Peter heard noises more than ever. Suddenly he stopped. His eyes were as big as lollipops. Benjamin took one look, and in no time he and Peter had hidden themselves and the onions under a large basket. The two little bunnies had seen a big barn cat napping in the afternoon sun. The cat awoke and stretched. She walked to the upside-down basket and gave it a sniff. She sat right down on top of the basket. She must have liked the smell of onions, and there she sat for 5 hours. Whoa. The sun was setting over the trees in the woods, but still the cat sat on top of the basket. Peter and Benjamin were trapped. It was quite dark, and the smell of onions was awful. Peter Rabbit and Benjamin Bunny began to cry. Through their tears, the two bunnies heard a pitter-patter, pitter-patter. Stones were falling from the garden wall. The cat looked up and saw old Mr. Benjamin Bunny walking along the top of the wall. He was looking for his sons. Old Mr. Bunny was not afraid of cats at all. He jumped from the wall onto the cat and pushed her off the basket. Then he kicked her to the greenhouse, scratching off a bit of fur. The cat was too surprised to scratch back. After Mr. Bunny had knocked the cat aside the greenhouse, he locked the door. He came right back to the basket and pulled Benjamin and Peter out by the ears. He picked up the bundle of onions and marched the two bad rabbits out of the garden. Old Mr. Bunny scolded them all the way home. He made sure Benjamin and Peter were sorry for their mischief. When Mr. McGregor returned home, he saw several puzzling things. A scarecrow had been robbed of its shoes and jacket, and there were footprints all around it. The footprints were very, very small. Also, he could not understand how the cat could have shut herself up in the greenhouse and locked the door from the inside. Old Mrs. Rabbit was so glad to see Peter wearing his shoes and jacket, she quite forgot to scold him for wandering off. She was pleased with the bundle of onions as well. She tied them and hung them from the kitchen ceiling with her bunches of herbs and lavender. Well, Peter's always getting into mischief, isn't he, Hannah and Miriam?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Bye.
See you later.